Welcome to Ufilmee, my film review show where it's me versus you versus the movie. And it's basically a collaborative film show where I give my opinion on certain movies. I need to hear feedback from you guys in order for this to work. Next time I do a different review, I'll also bring up some old feedback for the last movie that I reviewed. Introduce myself, I'm Jrod. I am a filmmaker and film student in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I watch a lot of movies. And I have an opinion about all of them, so I thought I should share it. But, honestly, my opinion doesn't matter more than yours does, which is why I wanted to make a show where it's everyone's opinion. We actually figure out how people feel about the films that they're... I'm going to go ahead and review a movie. It was probably the biggest release of this year, probably the biggest release of some time. One of my favorite movies, one of my favorite film franchises from when I was young. I'm gonna do Star Wars, The Force Awakens. Yeah, I was really excited about, The Force Awakens even happening, because I love Star Wars movies. I'll give my whole backstory. The first movie I remember actually seeing in the theaters when I was really, really young was The Phantom Menace. And I don't remember the entire storyline, but I do remember Anakin racing around in his pod when he was a kid. And I remember Darth Maul getting chopped in half, like, vividly. And I love Star Wars ever since. I've seen all of the movies, but I've seen them in the order they were intended. The newer trilogy, I saw those first, and then I saw the original movies. I think for anyone who hasn't watched Star Wars, or for people who have watched it and they hate the prequels, watch them in that order and it'll be a lot better for you, honestly, because I love the movies. But this is about The Force Awakens, episode 7, and I was definitely really hyped for this one. There was so much stuff that they could do with it. At first, when I heard Disney bought it, I wasn't that excited, but then I thought, well, that's a lot of money behind Star Wars, and I think that's enough money for them to make sure that they do it right, because the fans wouldn't tolerate it if they didn't do it right. And I think they did it right, honestly. In my opinion, they did it right. The Force Awakens was great. I don't want to spoil too much in my reviews, but I will tell you that I love all of the main protagonists. I love Finn. I love Rey. Well, I love BB-8. That's a cool droid. He was really good on screen as well. Like he was like R2-D2. You felt like you were talking to him. He was a memorable character. As far as casting, I would say that like a lot of other characters outside of the main ones and the ones that we already knew were kind of like they didn't spend too much time on them. Like it might be because they're coming back in future stories and they don't want to give too much insight, but Poe Dameron, the pilot, we didn't learn anything about him, honestly. As far as the villains, it's the same thing. Like, Kylo Ren got a lot of development, and I'll talk about him a little more, but I felt like all the other villains were just wishy-washy. Like, Captain Phasma, worst villain ever. Because of what happened in the story, worst villain ever. Not to spoil it, but if you've seen it, you already know. Worst villain ever. I can't see Captain Phasma even being in any more movies because she got some splaining to do. But Kylo Ren, I like the character. He did seem a little more melodramatic than usual Sith Lords, but it was okay because I personally like Adam Driver as an actor, and I was excited that he was coming to Star Wars. I think that this is just the tip of the iceberg, though, with his character, because he's not a Sith Lord in any way, shape, or form at this point. He's just a Sith Knight. Technically, he's a Knight of Ren, but that's pretty cool. He's a Sith Knight, like there are Jedi Knights, and he was a little melodramatic in his actions and in his dialogue, but he was a pretty good character, and he has some ways to go. As far as the storyline of the movie, it was kind of predictable. I will give it that. It was kind of predictable. I kind of saw where it was going to go, but it was still really, really good. They still did a great job at telling it. Visually, it was perfect. There was so much tangible things, like practical effects, in-camera effects, as opposed to all special effects, how the prequels were. And that was great because it made everything feel real. Like Star Wars world felt real, and I felt in it. It was very immersive atmosphere, and I loved it. I can't. My only problem with the movie is that I'm mad I have to wait for the second movie. Like, they might as well just release all three on Netflix so I can binge watch them. That's my only complaint, honestly. Yeah, that's the thing. So, may the force be with you. And tell me if you feel me. Tell me if you don't feel me. You feel me?